Okay, on that. Look at me.
Nampak dulu video pada this time.
Oh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let us begin our monthly research update series organized by Office of the National Institute of Daud, East and Southeast Asia. Before we start our session today, let us begin with Kitab Al-Fatihah. Alhamdulillah. Yeah. It is indeed a great honor and pleasure to welcome our dear brother, Associate Professor Auni Daud to IIIT. He has been with us since early April as a visiting researcher, conducting research on the need for mathematical modeling in understanding Islam. Prof. Auni is a senior lecturer, associate professor at University Malaysia, Terengganu. He obtained his bachelor degree from UTM, and then PhD from Western Australia University. His thesis on state estimation and forecasting using a shadowing filter applied to the Queen and skin slope model. So Alhamdulillah, it is indeed a very brave attempt to use this mathematical modeling in understanding Islam. As we all know, through history, that Muslim mathematician have been in forefront. We can call few names. Of course, our great scholar the optic. Ibn Haytham. Even today, we are still using the camera because of his discovery. Of course, algorithm discovered by Khwarizmi. And so on and so forth. I still remember the lecture by Prof. When we talk about hierarchy of knowledge, mathematics come number 2 after revealed knowledge. After all this, what they call it, usuluddin, fiqh, and things, and come mathematics, because the science of logic, the science of exacting actually has been there in Islam. Of course, all the conceptual matters. When we talk about philosophy, we always talk about priori knowledge and about another one that's exploratory. 1 + 1 is 2. Where is number 2? Does not exist. Number 2 is there. Who told you that number 2 exists? Someone tell you. Who's that someone? From Islam is of course from Allah. Not from experience. There's no experience 1 + 1 is 2. So someone we have been told by other sources, inshallah. So I think the attempt by Prof. Auni is very significant, and we are very glad that he chose us, IIIT, to do his sabbatical leave for 3 months. And you welcome the talk. We just started. We just praising the brave attempt by our dear Professor Auni by using mathematical model in understanding Islam. Actually, in front of us is Prof. Jamil. He is the chairman of Statistic Malaysia. So he is a part of this discipline of mathematics. So, and of course, as we mentioned, Prof. Osman Bakar is a mathematician. So I hope one day our dear brother Prof. Hani will become such a big name that we can take benefit, inshallah. So this session is a recording session. We will record the lecture and we will upload in our Facebook and YouTube channel, every channel, inshallah, for our future usage, future research, and future classroom material. So without further ado, we welcome.
This one, it's too late kan, masuk dalam kita punya online group tu, the Zoom. Masuk itu tertulis program yang beneficial. Because your research ni, not many people are doing mathematics ni. Kan? Tak tahu lah sempat. Tapi kita akan masuk juga lah. Recorded pun kita masuk dalam tu, dalam yang macam Kak Suli dia masuk semua kita punya newsletter dalam tu. Saya bagi kat dia tu, dia masukkan staff dia dalam link tu.
We will share the link for
share the slide, ni. Masuk dalam you are recorded speech. So the whole world.
Alhamdulillah, as Prof. Ani aware that we have been conducting online classes every Saturday. Alhamdulillah, this is our 5th series, 5th or 6th series. We've been doing it with close collaboration with our brothers, IIIT, KI, and MS, and the faculty of our kuliah, inshallah. So, Prof, you can take 25 minutes, half an hour, the presentation, inshallah. So the floor is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And a very good morning, the chairperson, organizers, and all the participants. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers, chairman, for this opportunity to share some thoughts and ideas on a topic that is very close to my heart, the need for mathematical modeling in understanding Islam. And I'm a bit surprised that Brother Shahran informed me that I have 25 to 30 minutes because I have more than 60 slides. I try to make it. I try to make it quick.
Because we are not mathematicians.
I know. So as stated there, my name is Auni Aslah Daud from Faculty of Computer Science and Mathematics, University Malaysia Terengganu. And my personal website is auniaslah.wordpress.com. So this is a brief outline of my presentation today. I will start with an introduction about myself, followed by a general explanation of what mathematical modeling is, why is it important, and how it can be applied. And then I will focus on the motivations for using mathematics, particularly mathematical modeling, in understanding Islamic concepts. After that, I will share a little about my current research project, the progress, and maybe some examples, 1 or 2 examples of the preliminary results that I have obtained since the past few months, 2.5 months. And finally, I will touch a bit on future plan, a potential research proposal that I'm preparing Now, so while the subjects involve mathematics, I'm fully aware that many, if not all of the audience today may not come from the mathematical background. So I will do my best to try to make my presentation accessible, minimizing the use of technical jargon or avoiding any technical details, while still conveying the key ideas and motivations behind the work as clear as possible. So before we go further, let me introduce myself briefly. As mentioned, I am currently an associate professor. In the field of mathematics, what you see here is an AI generated summary done with ChatGPT.
So, 30 seconds.
So,
or less.
In short, my academic background is applied maths, but I have a deep interest in connecting the two important areas, which is modern mathematics and the teaching of Islam. So for those who would like to know more about my background, research and interest and so on, you can scan the QR code provided there. It links directly to my personal website. So feel free to scan for further information. By the way, just a small disclaimer before we proceed further. Just about this AI generated summary, I asked ChatGPT who is Auni Aslah, and that is the answer that it gave me. Maybe if any of you try the same question later, I'm not sure whether he or she or it will give the same answer. As we know, it is sometimes a bit unpredictable. After all, it is called artificial for a reason. Okay, and just to be clear, ChatGPT knows me not because I'm that famous or well known, but simply because some information about me is available online on my website and other online platforms. So if it sounds like it knows me very well, that's only because Google and my website and so on had along the way. Okay, so besides academic publications, I've also involved in writing several articles and delivering a number of public lectures, both in Malay and English, aiming to educate the public and make the mathematical thinking a bit more accessible to the general public. Okay, and today I have brought also a copy of January 2025 issue of Dewan Cosmic, because in this issue features an article I wrote, Pengakhiran Konflik Palestin and Peranan Manusia, Perspective Theory Mathematics. So this article may help us to understand the end of the conflict as has been promised by the Prophet in the Hadith, and how even small individual contributions may have meaningful impact. So for those who may be interested in reading an example of how mathematical theory can be applied to understand Islam and the Muslim world, feel free to browse through the magazine during or after the talk, okay, if you like to explore the idea further. Okay, so let's begin with the content of our presentation. What exactly is mathematics? So it is more than just it is more than just numbers. Okay, my favorite way of explaining or defining what is mathematics to non-mathematician is by treating mathematics as a language. So it is a very precise and concise language, a universal language with well-defined rules for operations. So it meets all requirements of a language. It has its own vocabulary. It has its own grammar, syntax, people who use it regularly and understand it. Okay. Let's dive a little bit deeper into the idea that of mathematics as a language. So just like any other language, it has its own vocabulary, logical words such as or, if, greater than, less than, or equals to, etc., etc. So these words have very precise meanings in mathematics, and sometimes it can differ slightly from our everyday conversation. Likewise, it has a grammar too, which refers to the methods or common sense principles of logic or proof techniques that has been used in the mathematical analysis, so that we can start with statements which we already know and logically deduce statements which we didn't know before. So this is a glimpse into the mathematical vocabulary. So some of the symbols may be familiar to the audience: equal to, not equal to, greater than, equivalent, etc., etc., etc. And as I said just now, each symbol brings its own precise meaning. And it allows us to communicate ideas with clarity and without ambiguity. Okay, so these are some examples of what would happen if we don't fully understand the precise language of mathematics. A situation like this may occur. We can end up with this situation, embarrassing situation like this. It comes from the misunderstanding of the question or not speaking the language properly. That's why building a solid understanding of mathematical language is important to help us avoid misinterpretations, and so that we can make sure we are speaking the same language when addressing any problems. So this is the map of mathematics. It is a beautiful illustration of how vast and how interconnected of the world of mathematics is. So my area, my work falls into this applied mathematics. Yeah, and on the right, yes. Where we use mathematical tools to understand and to predict the real world phenomena. So today we are looking at how we can apply the mathematical tools, the powerful tools, to gain understanding and deeper insights into Islam. So this shows how others see certain problems versus what some mathematicians see. When a mathematician looks at the world, we often see the patterns or underlying patterns, and if possible, we try to describe it using mathematical equations. It's not just about numbers. It is about finding the hidden mathematical language within those complex systems. And this is a famous quote by Galileo, who is considered as the founder of astronomy and physics. Mathematics is language with which God has written the universe. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he's a Christian, I think. So this is a profound way of describing the essence of what I'm trying to share today, where we suggest that the underlying mathematical principles governing the universe. Building on this quote, there is another famous quote by Richard Feynman, which is a world-renowned physicist. Mathematics is not just language. Mathematics is a language plus reasoning. It is a language plus logic. So mathematics is again a tool for reasoning. It is in fact a big collection of results of some person's careful thought and reasoning. So by mathematics, it is possible to connect one statement to another. Okay. So what what are mathematical models? So real life problems which are translated into mathematical language. Whatever language it is, the real problems, when we translate the problems into a mathematical language, then we call it a mathematical model. We then solve it using whatever tools that we have and test the solutions back into the real life system. So again, mathematical model is a mathematical description of real world phenomena. It can be almost anything: the size of a population, the demand of product, speed of falling object, even the life expectancy of a person at birth, and etc. etc. It's not only for physics and engineering. It has been used in many fields. Here there are examples of application, real world application of mathematics in sports and politics. So we can model everything from the trajectory of a baseball to the voting patterns in an election, for example. And believe it or not, there is even mathematics of love. This book here, written by a professor from United Kingdom, try to explore the human relationship between couples and the mood dynamics, etc., as shown by the graph and the equations there. So it highlights the one important point here, that mathematics can be used even to model things that intangible, subjective, and maybe cannot be measured by, cannot be observed, something. It may be the qualitative aspects of life can still, as long as the qualitative aspects have some mathematical structures, then we can model, we can use the mathematical model. So why do we need mathematical modeling? There is a famous quote that a person does not understand something until he or she teach it to someone else. Then an emeritus professor, Dr. Donald Knuth from Stanford University, took it a step further. A person does not really understand something until he can teach it to a computer, i.e. express it as an algorithm. And I try to adapt it even further. A person does not really understand something until he or she can teach it to a mathematician, i.e. express it as a mathematical model. So we will discuss later what is meant by how do we come up with a mathematical model. So what is the use, or what are the uses of mathematics and mathematical models? So there are many. We can compute and calculate precisely. We can simulate scenarios. We can use it to understand and predict trends and so on, and we can analyze patterns, whether we realize it or not. Okay, some students may argue that he or she will never use mathematics in their life, but unconsciously they are using it every single day. Okay, so again, let's recap why do we need mathematical modeling. So in mathematical modeling, we translate again a real world problem into the language of mathematics. So the advantages are, first, it is a very precise language. It helps us to formulate ideas and identify underlying assumptions, which may otherwise overlook. Second, mathematics is also a very concise language with well-defined rules for manipulations. And as I mentioned just now, earlier, we can start with statements that we know, and eventually come up with statements that which we didn't know before. Okay, we also can use mathematics since there are years of results, hundreds of years of results that has been accumulated by the research by previous mathematicians. So it's like having an enormous library at our disposal. And finally, maybe we can use computers to perform numerical calculations in scenario where maybe it is impossible to do it in physically. For example, when we are building a bridge. We cannot test the bridge, the limit or the threshold that can be used on the bridge. So because it will collapse and it will involve a lot of money. But if you use computers and mathematical models, then everything can be done. All the impossible due to the time constraint or money constraint or ethically and so on can be done mathematically. So a brief idea about how do we do mathematical models. So the figures here shows the process of mathematical modeling. We start with formulating a mathematical model. We identify the variables, independent and independent, and we use our mathematical skills or knowledge or of the real world problems and mathematical skills to relate the variables. So we have the variables first, and then we relate the variables. We apply the mathematics we know to the mathematical model that we have formulated, and then derive the conclusions. And from those conclusions, we take and interpret them as information about the original real world phenomenon by offering explanations and making predictions. And finally, we can test our predictions by checking against new real data. If the prediction does not match or compare well with reality, we need to refine our model or even formulate a new model and start the cycle again. So this is a continuous cycle actually. It's not necessarily stop at step four. We can go back to step one if the model does not match the reality. So there are four possible ways or methods to represent a mathematical model. First is by using words, by the description of words verbally, or we can use a table of values numerically. We can also use a graph visually, or the most common ones is by using an equation or explicit formula. So if a mathematical model can be represented in all four ways, it's often useful to go from one representation to another to gain additional insight. However, some models may only be represent using 2 or 3 of these 4 methods. Okay. But certain mathematical models are described more naturally by one way or method than by another. Let's take one very simple example. So we have a hadith. Prayer in a congregation is 27 degrees more excellent than prayer said by a single person. A very well-known hadith. So we can. This is the first version, which is the first form, which is the description in words. So we can use tables to describe the reward for prayer alone and reward for prayer in congregation. We can also use equation or explicit formula, or we can also use graph. So I don't think we have to explain this because it's too obvious, I think. And this is another example, maybe a bit harder. This is exactly one of the slides that I have been using for teaching in UMT, University Malaysia Terengganu, Differential Equations 101. Okay, so there are two types of applications. When we talk about the application of mathematics in Islam, there are two types of application. One is to implement the Sharia itself. Okay, so that when where mathematics directly serves religious rulings, obligations, or Islamic practice. So let's take some examples to illustrate this. The first one is the effect of zakat. So I won't go into the details. The second example is the crowd modeling during Hajj. So some mathematicians and engineers maybe, including Professor Keith Steele from University of Manchester Institute of Science and Technology, have developed models to describe the flow of pilgrims by changing shapes and redesigning levels or traffic direction. So as a result, congestion can be reduced, the risk can be minimized, and the entire Hajj process can be made safer. So again, it shows the importance of mathematics to help us fulfill a very important Sharia obligation. Another example is the mathematics is also essential for the accurate determination of Qibla direction, which is required for the prayer, okay? Proper performance of prayer. Using principles or theories from geometry, trigonometry, and maybe some satellite technology, scholars and mathematicians ensure that Muslims anywhere in the world can determine the precise direction towards the Qibla in Makkah. Then another important example is calculating Islamic inheritance or faraid. This is another area where mathematics plays a important role, while traditionally the calculation is done manually. So some researchers has used modern tools and create, for example, e-faraid to help us to simplify the calculations and maybe make the process more accurate, efficient, and so on. And maybe the last or the final example that I want to share here is the Islamic banking, Sharia compliant financing, and Islamic banking products also requires mathematical modeling to design financial contracts that avoid all those prohibited elements such as gharar, riba, while ensuring fair and profit and loss sharing. So these are just a few examples showing how mathematics directly supports the practical implementation of Islamic law. But as Brother Shahran mentioned just now, there is maybe some of you might be wondering why haven't I mentioned the most obvious one, the great contribution of Al-Khwarizmi, the father of algebra. So indeed, his contribution is well known, undeniable, monumental, but I have chosen to focus on more contemporary examples today, so that we can see that mathematics can be can be used to help us in implementing the Sharia in a more modern and practical real life situations. So it's not just historical; it is still alive with real implications in the Muslim Ummah society. The focus of my presentation is another application, which is a bit more technical, okay? And perhaps we can use maths to understand Islam, and if possible, try to formulate or plan our practical action accordingly. However, to the best of my knowledge, there are no such mathematical model yet in this type of application. The nearest is this study. It has been published in 1987, but this is not exactly what I have in mind, because the author Muhammad Ishaq Zahid, in this paper, he used Islamic beliefs in the teachings of mathematics and computer science. But what I'm trying to do is the other way around, using mathematics and computer science education to teach Islamic beliefs. Okay, so it's not exactly the same, but that's the only one that I can found in the literature, which falls under the second application that I'm talking about. So, one of the important point to note that in this second type of application is it is qualitative in nature. and not quantitative as compared to the first type of applications. We are not really talking about precision as just now we are talking about the precise direction of Qiblah and so on. But in this type of equation, we are more on qualitative. So the significance. So what should be done, the significance of the real world. And the idea is to help us understand Islam and not to complicate things. Okay, we don't want to. We want to simplify the complicated things, not complicate the simple things. Okay, so why do we develop mathematical models for understanding Islam? So this is for me personally. I would for me, I'm living this hadith by this research. Khairukum man ta'allama al-Quran wa 'allama. The best of you are those who learn the Quran and teach it. I'm not maybe I'm not a traditional Quranic teacher, but what I'm trying to do in this research is learn the Quranic verses, look and study it deeply, and try to teach it in the little knowledge or training that I have, which is my mathematics in this case. So that is my contribution. It is, to me, is fardu kifayah upon me, so that I can contribute whatever capacity I have to develop the intellectual capacity of the ummah. So what about the others? Why do we need to develop mathematical models for understanding Islam? There are at least 3 reasons here. First, the mathematical models can help us to correct misunderstanding about Islam, even among Muslims. And the secondly, the mathematical models can also help non-Muslim understand Islam better, because mathematics is a universal language. It transcends cultural, religion, geography, races, etc., etc. So it can be used so that even non-Muslim can understand Islam. And finally, this is a unique approach of teaching and promoting mathematics, which is an area STEM, especially within the Muslim community. So, my research is not really the research questions, I would say, it's not really chosen arbitrarily. So it is inspired by few, or at least 3 Quranic verses. The first one is Fastabikul Khairat, which means so race to all that is good. It is mentioned twice in the Quran. So the question that I come up with, how to win the race, the so-called race fairly. So what constitutes winning from a spiritual, from an Islamic perspective? The second question is faman zuhziha anin nar aw udkhilal jannah faqad faz. Whoever is spared the fire and is admitted to paradise has indeed been successful. So the question that I come up with, how can we represent the success mathematically from an Islamic perspective? So modeling can help us to formalize the Islamic notion of success beyond any worldly metrics, and perhaps distinguish it from how success is often defined in modern secular frameworks. And the third verse that inspired this research is from Surah An-Najm, verse 39, وَأَنْ لَيْسَ لِلْإِنسَانِ إِلَّا مَا سَعَى, and that each person will only have what they strive for. So how are the rewards truly related to the efforts? So these verses and the questions that they inspire may serve as the theoretical foundation for the proposed mathematical models. My goal is not to reduce Islam to equation or models, etc., but to use mathematics for understanding, for deeper reflection and clarity, and for possibly to even formulate practical application based on the models that we will develop. So one question that may arise is, why do you use mathematics? Is this approach in line with the Prophet, the tradition of the Prophet? So I believe so. At least there are two occasions or two examples which have been illustrated in authentic hadith, whereby Rasulullah drew some lines on the ground and to show to the companions on how to live their life. So these are some interpretation of the scholars. I'm not sure which one is the correct one, but in essence, what the Prophet did here is provides a visual model. We talk about 4 types of mathematical model just now. Visual, equation, table. So in that case just now, what has been done by the Rasulullah is using the visual, the third type of the approach for mathematical modeling. So that is one question. And another occasion is when the poor companions came to see the Prophet to raise their concern and complain about their inability to compete with the rich companions because they cannot give sadaqah, they cannot give charity, while the rich companions can do all the obligatory and optional ibadah and worships and can give charity. So again, this is another example where there is some quantitative thinking in the teaching of the Prophet. So what I'm doing in this research is actually an extension to the tradition, or by using the knowledge or the tools that we have now. Okay, so in doing so, I have one co-researcher in IIUM, Dr. Associate Professor Dr. Khairul Husaini bin Jamil. Of course, this is translation of the real problems, which is in Quranic verses and Hadith, into a mathematical problem. So I cannot claim that I am the expert of the Quran and Sunnah. So that's why I need at least one expert. And he just came back from Uzbekistan. So I just met him once in person. The rest I have to discuss with him online. So, and this week is not here as well. He's in Switzerland attending a conference, I think. So maybe the next meeting is next week. So his area of expertise is, as written there, philosophy of education, Islamic education, and so on, Quranic and Hadith studies. So what have I? So these are some progress that I have been doing for the past 2.5 months in IIIT. I have been working on 5 models, but those written in reds are the only models that I will discuss briefly in this presentation. First is due to the time constraint that we have. I think I have exceeded the 20-30 minutes given. And secondly, both models are briefly explained in this article in Dewan Cosmic. So there are some preliminary results. So the first one is the model 2, Ajr. I personally use that notation A in bracket U and I, because that that's obviously my name, but the explanation for all the variables are written on the right hand side of the slide. I won't go into details. As promised, just at the beginning of the presentation, I won't be teaching maths today. So let's skip the technical part. So then a miracle occurs. So what are the messages we learn from those model, the Auni model? Is in Islam, success is measured by the efforts, intention, and faith. Resources are counted. and we had prioritized consistency. So in building this model here, more than 20 Quranic verses and 9 hadith has been used. So this is the first one, and the second one is the application of chaos theory in Muslim life. So chaos theory is a branch of mathematics. I did my PhD on this theory, chaos theory. The butterfly effect describes how a small change in one state of a system can result in a large difference in a later state, or we call it in chaos theory, we call it as sensitive dependence on initial conditions. So one very famous metaphor for this sensitive dependence on initial conditions is that a butterfly flapping its wings in Brazil can cause or prevent a tornado in Texas. It's just a metaphor. Don't worry. So again, let's skip the technical parts from the from more than 20 Quranic verses and 8 hadith. We get the following messages on the right hand side, which is first, do not trivialize any good or bad small deed. Be humble and never give up in everything you have done. So these are briefly some preliminary results of my research in IIIT for the past 10 weeks maybe. So what's next? So what's next is the research that I'm thinking, which inspired from some previous studies. For example, the dynamical models of happiness and dynamical models of love, which has been proposed by Professors J.C. Sprott from University of Wisconsin. So my idea is perhaps we can use a similar approach to model iman of faith, Islamic faith, using the dynamical model. So why do I use this approach? Because to me, Islam is an excellent candidate of a dynamical system. It increases and it decreases. So a dynamical system in mathematics means a system which changes with respect to time. So there are a few Quranic verses which imply that iman will at some time increase, and from the hadith we know that iman we can also decrease. So what I have in mind is modeling iman using a mathematical approach. Why IIIT? Because this is taken exactly from this another screenshot from the IIIT website. Because its mission is to elucidate Islamic concepts that integrate Islamic revealed knowledge and with human knowledge. So what I'm doing now, my expertise in mathematics is a human knowledge. So I'm trying to, so this is exactly what I'm trying to do with this proposal. Secondly, because one of the objectives of IIIT is to develop an appropriate methodology for understanding the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet. So again, this is exactly what my proposal attempts to do. So at the end, the expected output of the research is to publish, hopefully, an index journal article, present an oral presentation in a conference, write another popular article in magazine, newspaper, or online portal, both in Bahasa Melayu or English, and maybe deliver another public lecture or talk on the findings of the research. So some fund may be needed to pay article processing charges, to attend the conference, and to buy some research materials. So I would like to end my talk with this note. Let's take a moment to reflect this graph, this interesting and funny graph, because I think honestly, many of us can relate this graph on the on the vertical axis, we have math skill, and on the horizontal axis, we have stage of life, starting from our school years up to the working life. Okay, so notice the familiar journey. We always start as kids. We learn how the numbers and counting 1, 2, 3, and then we build up the knowledge, learning the basic operations, geometry, algebra, and before we know it, we are wrestling with trigonometry, complex numbers, and calculus. And for some, we even learn advanced calculus at the university. But what happens next? So the graph shows perfectly that the use of math skills drops dramatically. So maybe then the message is clear. So after years of studying serious advanced mathematics, most of us feel that these skills don't directly contribute to our everyday life. Was it just for passing the exams? So maybe it doesn't have to be this way, especially for us as Muslim. What if I tell you that this graph happens because we have not used mathematics where it matters most. So imagine if we applied mathematical modeling, just like I've mentioned just now, to deepen our understanding of Islamic concepts and teachings, the success, the rewards, and so on. Suddenly, the advanced maths becomes relevant again, not just for our working life, in fact, for our daily life. So we can use it for our spiritual understanding, our journey to our worship, and our journey as servants of Allah. That's why I strongly believe that there is a need for developing mathematical models in understanding Islam, because this effort not only deepens our appreciation of the Deen intellectually, but it also makes the mathematics we spend years learning useful in our spiritual and everyday life, and even shapes our worldview as Muslims. So rather than our math skills peaking at university and then dropping sharply afterwards, they would continue growing, serving us in ways that we never expected as a tool for reflection, to understand our religion. Okay, so with that notes, I conclude my talk. Sorry for the time. All that is beneficial from this presentation is from Allah, and any errors or shortcomings are from my limitations and weaknesses, and of course the influence of shaitan. Thanks for listening. Jazakumullah khair.
Thank you so much, Prof. The very exciting, very interesting presentation that you have presented to us. Remember Dato used to conduct a very huge research on religiosity index or happiness index, Dato, back in 1990, or surveying how people act to the religious issues. Yeah. I think Prof approach now is how to use mathematical model to answer the contemporary issues, contemporary problem. We'll open up for question input from the floor. Prof, let me ask you something not related to the session, which is what we are facing now about AI. That's what people are debating, that by having this technology, it reduce our creativity, it reduce our experience in terms of student experience in researching, in debating, in working hard to find the material. And the other issue, yeah, just a majority of people are only consumers. They apply there, they never know behind it. That is the technology and things. So as a mathematician, you also involved, of course, and you know very well what is algorithm and thing. What do you see, what will happen in 5 years, in 10 years, 20 years? The students' ability to cope with real life. If other things depend on the easiness of this thing. Or in the popular sense, the misrepresentation of the actual history. Now I've seen how the Jesus at the table when they are having this Last Supper, and having a video cam or everything. They are creating from the data a movie. It is a real life movie. Sooner or later, when this has become widespread, students who are 10 years old or whatever, 15 years old, think it's real. But this is what really happened at the table, which is not. Jesus is not just crying and, oh, I'm now having dinner with my friend and Judah will be backstabbing me. It's not like that. So what's your take?
Well, thank you for the support. First of all, I have to admit that I'm not an expert on AI, but from my little reading and experience teaching at the university, uh, uh, first of all, I am very concerned on the reliance. Our students, they think that we don't know they use AI for their assignments. We are not, we are sure actually, you know.
It's perfect.
Because we know their levels. We know their levels. So everything suspicious and must be from AI. But beyond the ethical issues, there is also the problems with what you have mentioned just now in terms of the creativity of students.
Yes.
They are no longer can
Experience.
They no longer can critically analyze the problems and come up with their own solutions. In fact, in doing this research, I have been using AI quite a lot, but I can guarantee, I can categorically say that they are not sometimes they are not they are artificial. They are artificial. That's why we call it artificial.
Artificial intelligence.
They will never surpass us. There are things that I have to correct them. They will always apologize, but the point is they are wrong. So from the ethical issue, there is a problem. From the creativity, from the development of the students, there is another issue. The problem is they do not know how to criticize the answers given by the AI. So where the difference is we seniors we learn the conventional way. So we know how to criticize things, and even when we have answers given by AI, for example, we don't take it at the surface value. We just sometimes we even correct the answer. And more importantly, from the theological part that you have mentioned just now about the Christian, Judaism, and so on. So, going back to your question, what would be in 5 years and 10 years time? I don't want to predict, but I'm very, very concerned. Very, very concerned. That's all I can say. Thank you.
Yeah, Daud, Bro Rashad, you have some inputs, comment. Jada is doing some studies. Shazwan is trained by as an engineer. Yeah, now doing civilization studies and
PhD kan?
Degree
Tak
is
tengah
engineer.
buat PhD kan?
I think we give the guru last say, final say. So we make the mistakes first, we get correct that. Okay, so.
Save the best for the last.
Yeah, best for the last. Yeah. For me, I want to ask a simple question. You have gone through this, very interesting your presentation. But maybe the first question is, we have different aspects in Islamic knowledge. There is Aqidah part, there is a Sharia part, and there is Akhlaq part. Okay, generally we divide it that way, and then we see the interactions. In mathematical modeling, before I ask the other questions, what is the limitation of this effort, in your opinion, of mathematical modeling? What will be the limitation of mathematical modeling when it comes to understanding a system of religious belief like Islam and its different aspects? I'm pretty sure we cannot study everything in Islam by using mathematics. There will be some aspects of Islam that are beyond our ability to grasp or model. وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الرُّوحِ قُلِ الرُّوحُ مِنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّي. For example, Allah Himself says there are certain things you just can't. You're not. I have not given humans the ability to understand, like rock, for example, the nature of rock. So there are limitations. Hopefully, I believe you have come to think of that mathematical modeling, when it comes to this point and this point, probably it will not be able to be very effective to study this. So the first question is, what are those, what in your opinion, limitations of mathematics and mathematical modeling when it comes to study Islam as a body of knowledge? Body of knowledge. My second question, I will say all of them, and then you can choose how to answer. Okay? My second question will be related to that. Okay? The first one. There is aspects of Iman. Aspects of Iman. And ta'budullah. كأنك تراه فإن لم تكن تراه فإنه يراك. This is a ghaib. To believe in things we cannot see. Yeah? The existence of God, angels, qadar and qadar. These are difficult to prove by using formulas. That Allah has decreed certain things, we believe only. So this is a part of belief, Iman. Books, yes. Kutubihi, yes, we can see the Quran and we know the contents of it. And we are told about the Torah and Zabur. So I believe there is a difficulty there to use mathematics in that field of Aqidah, Iman, the things that we believe in the ghaib aspect. So I think we have to demarcate that area. Clearly, that mathematics is not going to touch certain areas, maybe which areas are those, in a presentation like this. Another one, I feel that the examples you gave that are already being used, the Hajj, crowds in Hajj, managing traffic, benefits of zakat, determination of Qibla. Yes, we are using this, in my opinion. I'm not a mathematician and I'm not Ustaz. So I may not make any sense to any of you, but this is just as a student of knowledge. These are applications that can be used for any crowd.
Yes.
Controlling any crowd.
Yes.
So just because we are controlling Hajj, it doesn't make it an Islamic application. It's an application of controlling crowd. Just because we are controlling traffic in Hajj, it doesn't make it Islamic. It just makes it controlling traffic.
Yes.
Determination of Qibla can be determination of any location on the globe using GPS technology. So for me, this is, yes, it's Islamic in the sense it's Hajj and Zakat. But any system of donation, we can apply similar modeling or charity to apply similar models to study, even though they are not Islamic. So I feel the Islamicness of these applications is 50-50. Yes, it is Islamic. I cannot deny Hajj is Islamic, Zakat is, but it's not essentially Islamic. It is factually Islamic, but it's not essentially. So I am not very moved with those examples, and I think you are very clear. Your quest is different. You want to go for using Islamic modeling to teach Islamic beliefs and make them more understandable. I was very happy when you went there. Because I thought, so far you're touching the surface, where is that Islamic part? And then you brought the Ajar and your name, Auni. I'm very happy for that. I think it's a very brave attempt. There is only one thing I wanted to add on that model of Ajar, Ajru. You put Niyat usaha, niat, and intention. What is it? Iman. Okay. But then we know also, based on different hadiths, that Allah can reward you 1 for 10, 10 for 1, and He can give you up to 700. Up to 700. في كل سنبلة 100 7 سنابل في كل سنبلة 100 حبة. Okay, so you cannot determine mathematically how much you get by a simple action. There will be an error, an X factor we have to add on the formula. Because yes, you get based on this, but how much? How much? If I give 1 ringgit, how much I get back? In spiritual sense. It cannot be 1 to 10, it can be 1 to 10, it can be 1 to 50, 1 to 100, up to 700, or maybe بغير حساب. بغير حساب, so it can go beyond 700. So I feel there is a limitation there. On the system of ajr, there will be a serious limitation to determine the ajr. Yes, niyat is counted, usaha is counted, and iman is counted, but you can't quantify it. You can't quantify it. So I feel there is a problem with that one. The whole system of ajr will have to add a certain error or an incalculable factor that is dependent on Allah's rahmah and mercy on this person. Then there are other aspects, but they are a bit complicated. I don't want to bring it here. For example, I will just mention just the point, but not the detail. Allah, there's a hadith. A person can be evil all his life. And then the last few days of his life, he does 1 or 2 things good. Allah remove all the bad and send him to Jannah. Another person can be bad, good all his life. And then in the end, he does something evil. Allah gets so disturbed by that and he goes to the wrong place. May Allah forbid. So Ajr ni is totally in control of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But if you see Ajr in the end is where we go. What we are rewarded is Jannah or not, or the other side. And Ajr is not like get paid for doing certain job, but what does this person get when he dies? Basically, is where the Ajr. So I feel when you mathematically try to quantify Ajr and get into these points where Allah can delete everything that happens before and just take the last 2 days of your life or last 1 week, or change everything of the person just by 1 small deed, like the case of the lady who was doing sins, but then fed a dog, and everything was changed by that one. Although probably her iman was not the perfect iman, but she believed in Allah. She believed in doing something good. There is a very complicated situation there on that model to quantify mathematically. So maybe you can think of all this.
I have been thinking of.
Yes, and also the issue of limitation. What is the limitation of mathematical modeling in studying Islam, and which aspect is more easy to study, Sharia, Aqidah, or Akhlaq? Or how? Maybe this division is not applicable to you. So which aspects will you study mathematics?
I think the big regarding
Urjanya.
Yeah, I think it's Jahiliyyah. So
maybe regarding the Ajr Huna, because some of the hadith that Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam also count. The Ajr here, of course, we know that it's depend on Allah. Allah give according to the height, to the niyyah. But then it's some of motivation. It's make you do that because you know that how much you get it. That's why it's a part that you can make you motivation to do it. Not because of you cannot count every day what the deed that you do, but because of that amount make you become motivation doing that. That's all to add.
The long comment. And the question is, okay, what is the answer?
what is the limitation of mathematical modeling?
Thank you for the questions. Quite a number of questions, the tough ones. Which one should be answered first? Okay, these are the 5 modules that I've been working on for the past 2.5 months. So going back to your question, you mentioned just now, you you are happy with my model, Ajar. But you mentioned a few limitations. A few comments. Thank you for your comments. The first thing is, as I mentioned just now, the purpose is not really to quantify things quantitatively. We just want to know qualitatively. Okay, how can we improve? But about how much, we don't know. Okay. So you mentioned just now that there are actions that the reward for some good deeds can be multiplied by 10, multiplied by 7, or bighairi hisab. So for your information, I have been working on that particular questions in model 1, Mizan. Okay, so there is a coefficient there that I don't know the values. That's up to Allah. Okay, so I won't touch. So I just can give some range, possible values based on the hadith, 10 to 700, for example. And if you are in Makkah, for example, multiply by and so on, Ramadan and so on. So, and that bigger picture, the Mizan equation, so that describes the what you mentioned just now, the multiplication that's up to Allah. With regards to your second point on the unpredictability of the ending, because of the few last actions of one servant of Allah, and he becomes it goes the wrong way. So that falls under chaos theory. So my argument just now that the butterfly effect describes how small change in one state of system can result in large differences in a later state. So maybe some things that have been done by that servant, that particular servant of Allah, brings him or her very far away from the initial projected trajectory. If you can understand what I mean. So that's why my messages in this research is be humble. You don't know your end, because there is a chaos theory that the most familiar chaos theory conclusion is that we cannot make long-term prediction. So that's exactly what describes your hadith, the hadith that you mentioned just now. We can predict maybe tomorrow not that bad. We don't know what will happen in 10 years, for example, because that is a long-term projection, long-term prediction. Okay, so going back to your question with regards to limitations of mathematics, as I highlighted a few times in my presentation just now, that we just treat mathematics as a language. Everything that is described in the Quranic verses and the hadith of the Prophet, we translate to the mathematical language. Anything that is not mentioned on the Prophet has been silent, we won't translate. So, وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الرُّوحِ قُلِ الرُّوحُ مِنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّي. Very few things we know about the ruh, we won't model about it. We don't have any information to translate that. So I'm not sure whether it answers your question with regards to limitations or not. But one major sure, there are things that my focus on the second type. It doesn't match the data.
It's got 19.
There is some glitch in the model.
Detecting the application of mathematics physics to compute the day of Qiyamah. And by putting in all the signs of Qiyamah. So if we are very close to the day of Qiyamah, so I predict that in mathematics will be about.
I thought it's supposed to be Iran-Israel war, day of Qiyamah, but now it's cancelled. But Trump stop it. I thought Mahdi will come tomorrow. Okay, Sheikh. You don't have to respond everything.
Okay.
They have to answer everything.
The first is my first response to that is as I mentioned just now, mathematics is just language. We only translate what is available. And secondly, in my slide just now, I mentioned that whatever model that we come up with, we have to test our prediction by checking against real data. So in this sense, data goes back to whatever that has been said by the Prophet. So, for example, just now you mentioned.
There are 5 things you mentioned case theory and I just pick on the idea because I felt that the problem with that one is that the real world data will come after we die. Ajal comes, of course, ada dunia ajal itu someone becomes better. I don't know. Orang jahat pun Allah bagi. Tapi the ajal we're talking from our good deeds will be seen when the kitab is shown.
I know.
So the only way to test the real world data is after the person.
You are interrupting me. You are interrupting me. I'm just about to define what data is. Okay, so data means in this context of research, data means the cases that has been specifically mentioned by the Prophet. So that's the only data available. I won't take any other data. Okay, so for example, you mentioned just now, one lady, a very bad person, at the end of his life, her life, he gave some drinks to dog. That's a data. That has to match my model. Okay. Or for whatever mentioned by the Prophet, that's only the data that will fit into step number 4. I won't take into consideration other data. Okay, that is my methodology. I'm not particularly sure whether others may consider other data, but that's the data in my study. So everything I come up with every time I come up with a model, then if you can come up with a counter example which contradict the hadith or authentic hadith or Quranic verses, then I'm more than welcome.
Okay. Datuk, last word or
Sedang buat diskut
last
dah.
question? Last comment.
Cuma dia tahu ni, just a question, short question. What do you think about in Islam? There's a lot of mathematics. For example, bila kita semayang, kita ada subuh 2 rakaat, 3 rakaat. Dalam Imam Syafi'i, kalau kita ambil wuduk kena 3 kali. Lebih banyaklah benda yang sebenarnya kalau orang Islam tak mengira, at least sampai 10 kena lah, minimum. Kata language kan, kena minimum orang Islam kalau tak berhenti baca, at least berhenti mengira sampai 10 lah. Jadi pandangan betul lah sebagai ahli matematik kan. Maksudnya memang Allah dah letak matematik ni part pasal dalam ritual ibadah orang Islam. Jadi macam ini mesti matematik is important lah dalam Islam ni. Dan kalau ikut isu walaupun cari kiblat tu satu benda yang semua orang boleh buat, cari tempat, tapi memang GPS tu kalau tak kerana orang Islam susah nak cari Mekah tu kat mana, mungkin GPS tu tak cerita. Jadi benda macam ni macam dah bagi maksudnya sebab tu kata kontribusi dalam orang Islam kepada matematik, sains matematik itu sangat penting. Dan benda tu ada dalam fiqah, dalam syariah kita, memang dia berdasar dah ada begitu. Jadi pada pandangan ni sekadar komen lah kan.
Thank you for the comments.
Sekadar ni je lah.
Thank you for the comments. So, Brother Shazwan mentioned this now about the number of raka'at and so on. So, that's maybe a bit trivial. What I want to highlight in my address is the contributions of the great contribution of Al-Khwarizmi. When he create Al-Jabr wa Muqabala, the algebra, the body of knowledge, a new body of knowledge, what he had in mind was to solve the faraid, the inheritance problems. So going back to your comment just now that just like we are so obsessed with finding the Qibla, and then suddenly the knowledge about GPS become more and more relevant. The same goes to I would say the opposite goes to about the body of knowledge about algebra. Al-Khwarizmi create that body of knowledge to solve the problem. It's not taking tools that has already been discovered by others to solve a problem. He create a new tools. So maybe about number, I'm not that sure about the history, how create the number system, but the one who created the body of knowledge, a new body of knowledge called algebra is Al-Khwarizmi, which is in today's term very rare, I would say, inventing pure maths from a mathematician point of view. That is pure maths. So we don't really know how to apply pure maths. So what he had been the contribution of Al-Khwarizmi was creating a new body of knowledge, a pure mathematics to be applied to solve a real world problem, which is, as I've mentioned, Brother Shahran, the alien code, something like that.
Yeah, the superficial,
Superhuman.
Okay, inshallah. Look, we don't want to take too long.
Yeah, thank you very much. Very good. You covered a lot in your potential research to expand, especially with the application of mathematics to Islamic issues. I've been a student of not mathematics, applied mathematics, and I was studying actuarial science, statistics, and economics. All those are the application of mathematics in our modeling. But in actuarial science, in fact, we were talking about calculating interest rate, and so on in insurance companies. So this is go back to the Sharia issue. How you apply mathematics in actuary. At that time, you were not talking about haram or halal. The interests were halal at that time for the people, for the Muslim who don't understand. But in the Sharia aspect, we understand it is haram from the Sharia aspect. But the people of Sharia doesn't know that the application of interest in the element interest in running the insurance company. That's why we developed Takaful. So Takaful was developed based on the Sharia model. Okay, and we come to Islamic banking finance, same thing. The thing what I want to add on is that what Brother Sharan is saying about how we apply mathematics and in artificial intelligence. Actually, it's not artificial intelligence in mathematics. Mathematics in artificial intelligence. Because artificial intelligence is wider than mathematics, So there are some limitation, of course. Limitation in the users. The people who make use of the of mathematics. There might not be an expert in mathematics.
Yeah, true.
As what you did mention, they cannot trust all. But there are pro and con. Yes. There are some advantages and disadvantages. If you want to compute something in this meeting, for example, so we use mathematical model to compute. We just plug in the numbers and then we got the results. At least we know the reliable sources of AI, for example. So we don't condemn 100% artificial intelligence, but there will be in the future, mathematicians will be using a lot of AI. Yes, and they will apply their mathematics in AI. When mathematicians conquer AI, so by that time, AI will be perfect in terms of using mathematics. You want to calculate the zakat, for example. I don't have to do the simple mathematics, counting, and so on. But this one is uh, I will ask the AI. They will answer because they have done the computation.
Sure.
That computation done by the expert in mathematics. Okay, so there is to add on what Brother Sharan was saying, and what Brother Rashad was saying about the limitation. There are limitations in mathematics, the things that you cannot think that mathematics is perfect. The difference between mathematics and statistics. No, I'm a student of statistics. So that's why we don't claim 100%, because we work on probability. Okay, what's the chance of raining today? If we do some mathematical modeling, today will not be raining. But to me, I'm taking the data for the past 100 years in Gombak. Today, it will be not the chance of raining today, maybe 95%. So even it rains a little bit, still raining.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it is. So there's a difference between mathematics and statistics. So if mathematical modeling doesn't have the E part, E is the randomness. That's where the probability coming in. So mathematician claim maximum will be 99. Even in industry, kalau we look at the output from the machinery, the output cannot be 100%. So they claim if you get 98%, it's acceptable. More than 98%, we rejected. That's what quality control coming in. That's where engineering people using statistics, although they can make use of mathematics. But of course, mathematics is the foundation. The statistician use mathematics. Economists use mathematics. Econometric, Sharan also was in economics before. And then actuarial scientists using the mathematics. They have to know very high level of mathematics in order to understand the discipline. So the other things that, as what you mentioned, not everything mathematics of in Islam. You have to be careful on that. As I did mention just now, you don't predict, you don't question what Allah has only Allah knows.
Yes.
The Prophet, even Prophet Muhammad never.
But Allah reserved
No,
for him, yeah.
So there's enough for that. So the other things is important to include also in your paper, the ethical value. Okay, the ethic is very important in for the users of mathematics. Okay, if they don't have the ethics, number one is the Sharia aspect, as I did mention. We should include also the Sharia. Not everything computable are in line with Sharia. Okay, especially in applied statistics, applied mathematics. Not all. Number two, if it is in compliance with Sharia, if it is unethical, they cheat in using the model. So that is also make the model invalid. Although mathematically it is correct, but ethically it is not correct. So the ethic and the Sharia part has to be part of it. So it is important that the other things that you did mention Khwarizmi,
Oh,
you have to recognize in the early stage when you mentioned algebra and the founding. So this research is going to be read by the students. So people open up the mind of the student, so they know who are the founders. The founders after that, they only maybe changing here and there and claim to be they are the founders, the Western people. But this one was founded by the Muslim thinkers. So all the Muslim thinkers' name should be included whenever you mention about the topic. Algebra has to be. So we learn, but the Western people will not recognize. You look at the Western book, they will not recognize it, or they will not even mention it. So you are propagating mathematics in Islam. This thing has to be here. And then the other thing, since you are attached to IIIT for whatever 10 weeks here and so on, give recognition to IIIT. Give some recognition.
Yeah, for sure.
Not because you are getting in our face to work here. Give recognition for the scholars of IIIT. They mean those who initiate the founding the IIIT. Okay, the knowledge of that come from IIIT. You have read a few books, for example. This is where IIIT is coming, mathematics and Islam. Okay? You do the integration. Okay. It's about real integration, not because you are studying separately. Rashad studying Sharia, he doesn't master in mathematics. Or you study mathematics, who don't master in Sharia. So you have an article just parallel like that. There's still a dichotomy. So my feeling, give the recognition to IIIT in terms of IIIT. Maybe you have Ashara, this way we open up to you to select some books. Okay, look at those to be your reference material from the book where IIIT coming in. Bukan not logo IIIT come into your, no, that's not important. Whether you put the logo IIIT, not, but the idea coming from the scholars of IIIT. Okay, so I think that's all my marital comment. Thank you very much.
That's all. Thank you. Thank you very much. I just think he's working together with our prof, your partner.
Yeah,
Is what Dato is referring to. I mean, IOK is trying to bring that knowledge into one person. So next time your students, both of you, will not need to have a partner because they will have mathematical skills and also religious skills. And that is the effort we're trying to do to bring this into one person. So the next generation of mathematicians or Muslims want to proceed with this, will be able to do on their own, because they will have enough of Islam and enough of mathematics in one person. That's that. I think the
Your research,
yes, like yourself.
only, yes, it can be in the form of a book or
Yes,
a small book. It's
It's
okay.
a very nice.
So you become a research person.
Inshallah.
I've been with the Association of Malaysian Mathematics and Statistics Association, the UPM, Mesti Malaya. But all these people doesn't do the research that what you're doing. They're just doing the modeling, all kind of thing. Of course, Shari be talking more in philosophical.
Yes.
He forgot the model already. People like Shari forgot about the model. Even I forgot all
Any
this.
book you have come across applied mathematics and Islam?
As I said, yes, I couldn't find any. The best of my knowledge is the very
We should try one.
Yeah.
That's right. We should try.
I should
one.
write.
Into library.
I've been reading Prof. Shari's books, but I don't really. Yeah, that's very. Yes, correct. Yes, I know. Yeah.
Basically, they are philosophers.
Yes, correct.
Most of the Muslim philosophers started as a math. Top economy started as a math. So after that, they became top economy, top philosophy. So you should not restrict yourself to mathematics because your idea is compared to Sharia, you order.
What do you want this year?
MashaAllah. And there is strong support. Okay, share your final word before we close.
Alhamdulillah, I would like to thank the IIIT for the opportunity to do research here and to present my findings today. I welcome every questions and comments, suggestions, ideas, and there are things that just came to my mind after listening to your questions, comments. About with regards to writing a book, yes, it is somewhere in my plan. Don't know when, but I will definitely give acknowledgement to IIIT for in the book. Yes, I will. I will. Uh, um, and I'm not sure whether this. I'm pretty sure this won't be even after I finish the visiting research in IIIT. Uh, I'm pretty sure this research won't stop here. I will start something writing, continue with further research, writing books, for example, create research group collaboration. And as my wife mentioned, I've been thinking of introducing a new program which specifically integrates mathematical and theology. So I'm grateful for the opportunity. Again, my apologies for any shortcomings or errors in my presentation just now. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Dato. Thank you, Rashad, and all who are here today. Hope we will, inshallah, maybe we will organize a proper seminar in August or September when you come to visit us for the bigger audience, inshallah. We will see you. Thank you so much. We close our session. Let's take